and welcome to another episode of the Football Smack Talk Show. I am your host, Ryan.
I'm Eric.
Welcome, everybody, to another wonderful Monday edition of the show. Happy Martin Luther King Day Jr. Day to everybody out there. Hope everybody had a great day. Eric, how was your day?
It was good. Sat around, just watched some TV. I was off today, so took advantage of the time off and just relaxed.
Well, that's good. Glad to hear that, for sure. But I as well had to head off today, so spend some time with the family. It's all good.
Nice.
So anyway, well, let's get into it here. Philadelphia Eagles, obviously, were eliminated a few weeks ago. Haven't really had much to talk about, with the exception of this past week. Doug Peterson gets fired, and now we're in the throes of a head coach search. A lot of names coming out, left and right. Before we get into kind of all of that, just first inkling when you heard Doug get fired, you heard some of the names pop up. Sure. What was kind of one name that maybe stuck out to you that you were a little interested
in? See, unlike you, I'm not hesitant to go back to the Kansas City Chiefs coaching tree. So I was intrigued by Eric Bieniemy. I still like the idea of like a Byron Leftwich. I also don't mind
Byron Leftwich as head coach.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm also I'm interested in like a Todd Bowles. Like I think he's a guy who didn't really get a fair shot when he was the head coach before the New York Jets because, to be honest, that shouldn't really count.
The Jets, right? Yeah.
That shouldn't count as a real assessment on whether or not he can be a coach in this league.
Gotcha. Okay. That's fair. Thoughts on maybe some younger coaches, kind of in the Sean McVay type, maybe like a Joe Brady, a Lincoln Riley, again would come from Oklahoma.
I'd be more interested in Joe Brady than
sure.
Lincoln Riley. Maybe it's just me being a Texas fan, so I don't like Lincoln Riley that much.
Okay. All right. That's random, but plus Joe Brady now obviously has some head.
He's been coaching
NFL experience, and I'm intrigued by that. As many have known my stance that I want to stay away from Andy Reid as much as possible. Don't get me wrong. I think Andy himself has a great coaching tree. Obviously, there's many successful, assistants and coordinators that went on to become very successful head coaches. That being said, the Philadelphia Eagles, I feel like, have been using a lot of them, and I feel like we're always kind of going to be under that Andy Reid thumb, so to speak. I kind of compared it to when Ed Snyder was alive and the owner of the Philadelphia Flyers. We were always
they stuck with the Broad Street Bullies line, I think.
Right? Yeah, we always stuck with that same Flyers mentality that those Snyder guys, and there would just be a rotation of Snyder guys. And God rest his soul, when he finally, when he passed, we finally were able to get out of that kind of mold. And I think somebody like Alain Vigneault would not have been even on the radar.
Yeah, he would not have been a name on the radar. Yeah.
Right. So, so that's kind of my mindset. Don't get me wrong. If it ends up being Eric Bieniemy, that's fine. I think that's somewhat acceptable. I will say, speaking of Andy Reid guys, I know the Eagles have come out and said they are not planning on interviewing Mike Kafka. So you can take him off the list.
Yeah, he would have been the one I wouldn't have been comfortable with. Look, I wasn't super thrilled way back in the day when Andy Reid made the jump from quarterback coach right to head coach.
Yeah.
So but I still think even though that worked, that was kind of the exception that proves the rule.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. I would prefer somebody with coordinator experience or head coach experience. But it's weird. The NFL is a weird thing. It's like you finally get to become a head coach, and God forbid you're not immediately successful, then you drop down, and you either go, to a position coach and have to work your way back up, or you're a coordinator for a few years before you get another shot. Whereas other sports, I feel like the head coaches kind of just bounce around.
Sure.
You don't go, so maybe sometimes you'll go for an assistant for a year and then you'll pop back up. But that's usually about it. NFL, I feel like you got to pay your dues to kind of get back to being a head coach, which is random, but, truthful.
Yeah, it's odd because, like, so many times, like, and you'll see coaches, like, get fired. Like, in basketball, like, I just mentioned Todd Bowles, a guy who, like, that's really talented. What's that?
I went to take a drink and I realized the whole thing was just green screened.
Yeah. But like Todd Bowles, like he never, like, how does he not get another shot if this isn't it? Like, or Steve Spagnuolo, an example, a guy who, like, he was a coordinator and then he moved up to be a head coach. It didn't work in St. Louis with the Rams, and then it's like all of a sudden he can't get another opportunity. It's like guys don't learn from their mistakes when they're a head coach, like,
right. And again, a lot of the times they're dealing with rosters that may not be
right.
Up to snuff to what they need to kind of do their their thing. So yeah, I get it. I feel like NFL should be a little bit more forgiving. That being said, I will say my first thought when I heard a bunch of the names was obviously Eric Bieniemy was somebody I wanted to learn a little bit more about.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Brady intrigued me. I liked what he had done in LSU, and I think in a pretty terrible position in Carolina with McCaffrey being hurt. For being a coordinator, I thought he did decent for what he had.
Yeah, absolutely.
In Carolina, and Teddy Bridgewater, I feel like, is a very average quarterback, and again, that's what he was this year. But still, I feel like he may be that kind of next young name that could take the league by storm, so to speak. So I'd be intrigued to learn more about him. But obviously we've been doing this for over a week now of coach search, and the name that keeps popping up, or not keeps popping up, that is, I feel like, at the forefront right now, and a name that I'm not really that happy about, is Josh McDaniels. The man had himself like a 10, 11, 12-hour interview practically the other day.
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, once you get to like that 5 or 6 hour mark, like, what are you learning in hour 7 of that interview that you didn't know?
Right. I feel like it's all semantics at that point.
Yeah.
You're just shooting the shit, and you're just gonna be like, all right, well, let's figure out the money. So, and from what I learned as well, that McDaniels had a whole game plan, a whole coaching staff idea that he wanted to bring in. Now, I will say that part of it intrigues me because somebody like a Matt Patricia could come in as the coordinator.
Sure.
If you think about all those old Belichick guys that are maybe spread out around the league now, some of those could kind of be coming here if McDaniels does get the job. So
you just want to run the 3-4 so they get some linebackers.
Well, that's the thing. I don't even want the 3-4. I'm not that greedy. I love the linebackers, as everybody knows, but I'm not even that greedy. I don't even want that, because why run a 3-4 if you're still going to have the same mindset? That just hurts you. So keep the 3-4 until you can prove to me you love a linebacker. Then maybe we'll think about a 3-4. But the thing that sticks in my head is his time in Denver. He was Denver 2 years.
Yeah.
Not great at all.
Nah.
Not great at all. He was the coach that drafted Tim Tebow.
Yep.
So that again kind of sticks.
And I was trying to remember the quarterback that they were like. Half the league was trying to woo that went into like free agency or was available via trade that he was interested in, and like basically it wounded the relationship with him and Cutler, and so they had to trade Cutler, and then they wanted to trade Brandon Marshall, and this is all before he coached a single game, and I'm like, is this guy already on the hot seat before the season's even started for his first year?
Honestly, I can't say that I necessarily remember all that because,
that was a while ago.
It was a while ago and I wasn't tuned in on what Josh McDaniels was doing in Denver.
Well, that's the thing. Like, neither was I, but like all that stuff was on the news all the time. And so it's like I just picked up on it.
Let's see. So they started 6-0 in the 2009 season, and then and then they traded Jay Cutler?
Or did they trade him after the season to the Bears?
Maybe after the season?
Maybe.
I don't know. But either way, like that was really. But again,
they traded Brandon Marshall.
He did draft Demaryius Thomas, Eric Decker, signed Brian. That was the signing of Brian Dawkins.
That's right. Yeah.
But, it drafted Noshawn Moreno, Tim Tebow.
Ugh.
Yeah. Well, so take Denver out of it.
Okay.
Not great. But what still sticks
yes,
in a more in a thorn in my side more than anything is take the Eagles' impact off of it. You accepted a job for the Indianapolis Colts as head coach.
Mm-hmm.
And then you went back on your word.
Yeah.
That to me alone, don't forget about the fact that it opened up the door for Reich to leave because, let's be honest, he was going to leave either way. Yeah. Whether it be then or a year later or some other team would have plucked him. So I don't even worry about that, even though it's, again, it's part of the story. But you literally agreed to be a head coach, and then you said, nah, I'm good with being an OC.
And I still think it was with the promise that Belichick was probably in his last year or two, and then you're going to get to take over. And then now, I don't know what the deal is now. A couple of years later, I guess he's like, well, I can't sit around and wait forever because who knows how long before Belichick's going to say, yeah, I'm out. And so he's now agreeing to another head coaching job. I don't know. Yeah, that bothers me because when you say something, you should mean it. When you give your word saying you're going to go.
Agreed. I feel like being a professional.
Yeah. If you want to take your time and think about it, that's fair. It's okay to say, "Hey, I want to think about it."
Go
you
back.
Want to run it by the family. You want to
go back to
the Patriots.
Or go back to Bill. Go back to Bill and say, "Hey, you offered me the head coach position. What do you think?" And who knows? He did do that.
He said yes, and then came back later and said, "Oh, by the way, nah."
Yeah. It's a dick move.
Yeah,
I don't like him for it. So that's gonna be right here if he gets hired. Now,
I got to admit, there's gonna be part of me that is just waiting to hate him.
Agreed.
Of course, I still this. Still kind of puts it in my mindset that the thought is that basically we got 2 years to see if Carson Wentz is still our guy.
Yeah.
And if he's not, at the end of that 2 years, Carson's gone because his contract allows you to move on. Howie Roseman's gone, and then probably Josh McDaniels is gone.
Yeah, you could be right on that.
So it could be just, all right, then I just got to deal with him for 2 years.
Yeah, I guess you could be right. Now, I want to bring this up. This is the latest I have for the NSN Philly page from, I believe, what was it, from earlier today when we got word late last night
Right.
that the Chargers have hired not Deuce Staley, but Brandon Staley from the L.A. Rams. He's got to travel real far to the L.A. Chargers to be their head coach.
That must have been tough packing up the office there to move like
real
right next door.
So we can go ahead and give this guy a big X. This guy, they said they don't want to interview him. This guy right here, one of my favorites, Brian Daboll.
Yeah.
He basically is going to remain Bill's coordinator and see what kind of happens next year. I think he's not. I think he just kind of is enjoying what he's doing right now. Now that may change if they lose next week. You never know. But he basically said he's not really taking interviews, so he's out.
And it could just be a thing where he doesn't want to like divide his time right now.
Yeah.
So hey, look, if the jobs are still open, like when we get eliminated, hey, I'll talk to you. But right now, just focusing on my job, and I don't blame him for that.
No. So, and this guy, Eric Bieniemy right here, his representatives basically came out and said, hey, I don't know if he's going to be interviewing because we're pretty much assuming that the Eagles are going to hire Josh McDaniels. Whatever. The Eagles have requested to interview him. Now, obviously, he's still playing. And the Eagles want to do an in-person interview. So they got to wait till he's eliminated. Now, speaking of taking interviews, though, this guy right here, Mr. Todd Bowles of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, is actually going to have an interview with the Eagles. It's going to be virtual. It's going to be at some point this week. I'm not sure exactly if time has kind of been set. But essentially, he's going to kind of do a virtual interview as that is allowable.
Sure.
And then should, Tampa Bay lose to the Green Bay, which might likely happen, then you can kind of, schedule the old face-to-face interview with Jeff Lurie and the team.
Yeah.
As far as the others, I haven't really heard much on Kellen Moore other than they want to talk to him. Deuce already had his interview. Ryan Day's name's been floated out there, but nothing substantial.
Right.
Gerard Mayo is shown some interest from the Eagles. Could potentially be DC, depending on who they bring in.
Sure.
Currently, he is the inside linebackers coach for the Patriots. Joe Brady already interviewed. Don't know if they've made an offer, but it also seems that he has informed Carolina that he will not be returning. So that to me means that he's got.
That means he knows he's got a job somewhere.
So I don't know what that means in regards to the Eagles. Does that mean he kind of has an offer and maybe he's going to accept it? I don't know. Maybe he's going back to college. I don't know. Lincoln Riley down here. All it has been is speculation given Jeffrey Lurie's relationship with Riley. They've not formally interviewed him. Riley has not come out and denied anything or declined anything, at least. So right now it's just more speculation that they're extremely interested in Riley, and all indications are he's perfectly fine in Norman and will most likely stay there.
And to torment me during college football season for years to come.
Wow, naturally.
Yeah.
And obviously I said something about Bowles. Outside of this list right now, I haven't really heard too many other names. I think when it first broke, I really did hear Jason Garrett's name pop up, and some were reputable places. So I didn't really know what to believe, but I literally have not heard anything other than like an inkling that they were interested way back when it first came out that Doug got fired. I haven't heard anything after that. So I'm discrediting anything regarding Jason Garrett until I hear his name again.
Well, I think what happens a lot of times in these
lots of speculation.
Yeah. Then reporters throw names against the wall and just kind of see who's gonna pop out? Like who denies it and who doesn't? And so the ones that deny it, they tend to try to move on from, and the ones that don't, they kind of put more attention behind.
Gary has been saying this for, I don't know, probably like 6 or 7 days in a row right now, that the Eagles should sign Jason Garrett. Just so everyone knows, Gary is a Cowboys fan. So obviously wants the Eagles to enjoy the misery that the Cowboys had with Jason Garrett for all those years.
Jason,
no, thank you, buddy. Not happening. That's basically what I have as far as kind of information on the head coaching search. Now, I will say the one thing that there's rumblings about with Josh McDaniels is that he might be the type of person that could butt heads and fight Howie on certain things.
For fighting Howie.
Yeah, I was going to say, if that kind of leads to another, rift, maybe Jeffrey Lurie will finally see that, hey, maybe it's actually Howie that's the problem and not all these coaches or whatever. So, and like you said, maybe that might be, the 2-year plan, so to speak. Get through the Wentz situation, try to fix him, obviously.
Sure. Obviously, if you get it fixed, like, that's great. Then you keep moving forward and, you operate with Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't, that's your window. Like, basically, whoever you're hiring, you've got 2 years to fix Carson. And then you go to Howie and say, Howie, you've got 2 years to get weapons around Carson and, help develop that whole thing. And if it doesn't work, at the end of it, you're out your GM, you're out of with your head coach, and then you moved on from your quarterback.
Yeah, no, that's exactly, that's exactly a great point. And who knows, that might be what's happening, which would be wild, but I'm kind of all for. I'm all for however we can get Howie out the door, because I think I'm a bit over Howie at this point,
Yeah, I'd say I'm more than a bit over Howie Roseman. If I never see him again in life, it'd be soon enough for me.
I'm sorry. You two go way back.
Yeah, I mean,
you guys ran into each other a lot.
Yeah.
Andrew on Facebook says a little bit of a long one here, but let's get through it. Carson Wentz will remain the Eagles' starting quarterback in 2021 next season.
Well, sure.
The Eagles will draft Alabama wide receiver and Heisman Trophy winner Devontae Smith to our Eagles starting wide receiver. Smith will be a perfect fit for our team to be a target for Carson Wentz. Oh, wow. There we go. This is pretty much where it goes off the rails. Carson Wentz will win Super Bowl, 55? At this time, and be the Super Bowl MVP. Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl champions, Wentz 2021 MVP, and Super Bowl MVP, Fly Eagles Fly. I love the optimism.
I mean, I'm with you. Let's do it. I'll sign me up.
Listen, I'll sign up for it, man.
Yeah, where's the contract for that?
What I got to do to sign up for it? I'm all for it.
Yeah.
That means Carson Wentz is fixed. Carson Wentz is out there balling and winning Super Bowls. I'm okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever you're on, you let me know.
Yeah, seriously. Can you pass some of that over here? Yeah.
Send some our way. I'm just kidding, bud. No, but thank you. I love the optimism and who knows?
That should kind of be the mindset right now.
Right, because what else do we have to lose?
Right.
I mean, we already hit pretty bottom this year with just an awful NFL season for not only the NFC East, but for the Philadelphia Eagles and
really the NFL as a whole, not being able to have fans there most of the time.
Well, yeah, that wasn't great, but The NFL offenses as a whole sure did pretty darn good, just not with us.
Not our
Not Philly. Yeah, everybody had record-breaking years offensively, except for the Eagles.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, sure, you got to love the optimism. I love the idea of taking Devontae Smith.
Well, and we'll obviously get into more
Sure.
draft talk as things go by. And obviously, news today came out as a memo. It's been circulating NFL teams. And if you have not seen, please check out NSN Philly on Facebook for the latest breaking news. But we processed the story there earlier today that the NFL had sent out a memo that there will be no scouting combine this year. There will be no individual workouts. I don't know what that necessarily means kind of moving forward as far as how this is going to, work, how teams are going to navigate to see these players, because something's going to happen. I mean, you're not just going to, I don't know if, maybe private workouts and, maybe they're going to come up with a kind of a schedule or not even necessarily a schedule, but some protocols, to follow to make sure everybody's healthy and safe and whatnot. And so I
don't know why you couldn't have just made sure everybody who had to go to Indianapolis
bubble them.
Yeah,
bubble them.
I don't know how you couldn't have done that.
Why you show up a week early? You bubble them.
Yeah, make sure everybody's tested. They all get a clean bill of health before they're allowed around anybody.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like there's a way you could have done this without, you didn't have to shut down the combine.
Agreed. And so obviously not thrilled about it.
So far, 2021 not starting off any better than 2020.
Yeah, so the traditional scouting combine is officially off. And there will be no in-person workouts. Now, I don't know if that necessarily means just the combine or maybe some of the, how they're, Alabama will have a pro day. And
I think that's what they're counting on. The pro days are going to be.
So if that's the case, then that might be all it is. So
yeah,
that's sad because I know me and you certainly look forward to that. Every year to kind of, see what.
That's really where I get my first gauge. Like right now, if you ask me, hey Eric, who do you like for the Eagles? Beyond the first few picks, it would be, this year, once you get past the Eagles, it's kind of a shoot for me who I really think will go anywhere else.
Right. I
a lot more when I'm watching the combine.
Right. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I try to hone in on maybe the main names that I've been hearing so far.
Sure.
So, I've already kind of, looked at some highlights and, look at some stats for, the three top wide receivers, Smith, Chase and Waddle. Mm-hmm. I've looked at the two corners that are kind of in that range. I've looked at Micah Parsons. I've looked at Sewell, the O tackle.
Sure.
Anybody I think that has a shot of getting drafted by the Eagles.
And I always try to pay attention to the quarterbacks just because it's good to know, be able to
know the quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
Because when you have somebody like, let's say, Daniel Jones kind of come out, and if you didn't know anything, you'd be like, Daniel from Duke. Who?
Right.
Who? Get out of here. Come on. Who follows Duke football? So not many people are going to know about it. But again, if you study up on maybe the top 5, top 10 quarterbacks, you have a better understanding of who they are and where they go. And you're right. That's 100% where I go to the combine for a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be kind of sad that the combine's not around this year. Maybe this is only temporary. Maybe things will be better by April. I don't know. It's
to me, this is really sad. This is one of those things that Of course, when the whole thing started, I thought for sure, man, like we'll get through all this and we'll be ready. We'll be able to go during football season. Like we'd be able to go to games and stuff. And then, like as the season went on, and you're starting to realize, okay, like this is like we don't know how much longer we got. Like I remember asking somebody, in a text conversation, like, man, we think like are they going to be able to have the combine? And that was the first time like I thought about it. It's like, well, no, they have to be able to find a way to do the combine. And no,
apparently they don't.
Yeah,
apparently they don't. So if you haven't heard, that's the latest news. From the NFL, no combine, and let's hope something comes up, because again, you don't know what's going on right now in the world.
Sure, and it's frustrating. Like, I mean, I'd like to think I'm not naive to the whole situation, and not that I want to go down that rabbit hole of talking about like the anti-maskers or like, but it gets me frustrated, and I start to get angry about this, like. Because everybody's and it's a real first world problem to get frustrated and angry with the fact that, I understand that.
Right. If everybody would have just kind of sucked it up, and did it, we might be 6 months ahead.
Sure. Like when I look at like a country like in Australia, where like basically
they got a lot of things to worry about, like gigantic spiders, snakes, and other awful creatures that will kill you.
Yeah, but guess what they don't have to worry about right now? They don't really worry about COVID right now.
Well, it does help they're on a nice, island, and they can just kind of shut everything off.
Well, I mean, theoretically, you can shut things off for 2 weeks or 3 weeks of the incubation period. And, like, like I said, I didn't want to get into...
No, we won't.
Yeah.
We won't. But anyway,
it's frustrating.
Things are starting to open up a little bit again. You have the vaccine out there. People are getting it. Whatever.
And again, I don't want to get on people's take on
that, but
it's a chip to track you.
You would hope that this will lead to us being able to have fans in the stands come September next year. Or this year, I should say. I forgot it's 2021.
Yeah, September 2021. We should have fans.
Yeah, we basically we have a little bit under 9 months to get it figured out.
And my understanding is like even like the most negative of prognosticators on that is saying, oh yeah, by like August, like you should be able to like do more. Like it should be like enough people to be vaccinated to where you can feel comfortable having some larger gatherings. So
I hope you're right. God, I hope you're right, because I need to be in a football stadium.
Seriously.
Yeah, it's like,
and I never really thought of myself as like a people person. Like,
oh yeah, no, you're definitely not.
Nah, you never realized how much maybe you kind of are until you can't do it. Like, the thought of like, if you told me back a year ago, Eric, you're gonna have to go like 9-10 months where you're not gonna be able to like do like and start listening to all the stuff. It's like when you start listening, you're not going to be able to go out to bars. And I thought, look, as long as I can have beer at home and I can watch everything I enjoy, I'll probably be okay. If you like, but now all I'm thinking is, God damn it, I want to be drunk at a bar somewhere. I want to be around stupid people who I don't know and get on my nerves.
Yeah,
like, and then it's like, you take away something like this, and it like the combine, and it does kind of trigger me to like, oh my God, another thing this is ruining. Yeah,
pretty much. So, well, anyway, we don't want to get into the whole that.
Even though we just kind of did.
Yeah, we kind of did. So let's just cut that off. So obviously we're gonna sit here and wait until the Eagles make a decision. We may be waiting until Kansas City ends their season, one way or the other. So in theory, we could be waiting about 3 more weeks.
Yeah, I mean, look, normally the latest you get an announcement on a head coach is the day after the Super Bowl. And if you've waited that long, it means your coach is coaching the Super Bowl, and it's pretty much out there already.
Right, because you can still communicate with current teams in the playoffs. You just can't formally face-to-face interview them, basically.
Right. And look,
So,
if the Eagles know they want to hire
the enemy, just use him as the example here. They know. And they've taught and in talks with him, the Eagles should know whether or not the enemy is even interested.
Sure.
Even if he is, and it's like, yeah, I have some interest, yada yada yada. Well, obviously, you can take the next 2 or 3 weeks, as long as whatever, to kind of gauge that interest to see if he's serious, and flat out be like, listen, we'll offer you the head coach position. Do you want it or not? And if you give him a few days, you don't want it, you move on to McDaniels or Brady or whoever.
Right.
So the quicker they move on this, the better. They got to do it. But the fact that they're taking this long means that they're really hoping for somebody from Kansas City.
Yeah, I would think that's the thing, that they're hoping for one of them. That, like, they're talking to McDaniels and talking quite seriously to him.
Right. They could hire McDaniels right now.
Sure. And I think the only reason they're not is because deep down, Jeffrey Lurie wants to hire somebody else.
Right. So that tells me they have not formally offered the position to anybody.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
that's what that says to me.
Sure, because if they've offered, like, if they had a standing offer knowing that, hey, Eric Bieniemy, who we're using as the example here.
Right, yeah.
Hey, when your season's done, we're going to announce you as the head coach. They're certainly not going to spend, 27 hours interviewing Josh McDaniels if they've got that decision made.
Yeah, 100%. So
I think what it is he wants to hire one of the Chiefs guys, in particularly Bieniemy, but I almost think he's looking at Josh McDaniels to try and talk him out of it.
Maybe. I mean, it's possible. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if I like Josh McDaniels.
I know I don't. Look, if he becomes our coach, obviously I'll root for him and I want him to be successful. But I'll just say on the record that I don't like the hire.
We'll see. Hopefully we get a decision sooner than later. But the longer it goes, the more likely it's going to be somebody from Kansas City, or maybe somebody else that's still in the playoffs that we haven't thought about. So.
Yeah. Like Todd Bowles.
Yeah, technically. Todd Bowles fits that bill too.
Yep.
So
I wonder how much more clarity we're going to get over the next 6 days leading into Conference Championship Sunday. Because if they don't hire Josh McDaniels this week, I'm convinced they're not hiring Josh McDaniels.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, because you don't interview somebody for 10 hours and then just not offer him the job and not have him take it the next day or two.
Right.
I mean, everybody else that's gotten hired so far, it's been, blah, 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 interviewed for, this job. Next day, blah, 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 is the new head coach of this place. It's usually
right. So, that would suggest that really if you don't hear something tomorrow, that Josh McDaniels is not the hire. That's what that would say to me.
Yeah.
Which I would certainly be okay with.
Yeah. Yeah, no, agreed. So, all right, folks. Well, that's all we got for the Eagles head coaching search so far. We'll keep you updated. And for those of you who have not already followed Notoriety Sports Network or NSN Philly on Facebook and Twitter and everywhere else, please do so. Especially NSN Philly on Facebook. That's going to give you the most up-to-date, by the second, of this Eagles head coaching search. So the second the Eagles make an announcement, it'll be right up there. So make sure you like and follow NSN Philly. Put on your notifications on there, so that way you'll get a pop up the second something happens. Because I gotta tell you, NSN Philly might be the quickest I've ever seen of breaking news popping out on Facebook.
Right.
Second it's happened and it's reported, it's up on NSN Philly. So check it out. Make sure you also check out the Phillyverse on Facebook and all of the Phillyverse shows. Tomorrow is the Philly Barocast with Ryan and Ryan at 6:15. Wednesday, it's Mike Sports with Eric and Landry at 8 o'clock. And then those wrestling fans for the TLC podcast, 9 o'clock on Thursdays with Eric and Joe. Anybody else interested in maybe having their own live show, please reach out to myself. Or if you're interested in working with NSN Philly regarding content creation, writing articles, stuff like that, please reach out to myself as well. But that's it for us. We will see you guys next week at our normal time of 6 o'clock. Sorry for the little late episode here. But yeah, we'll keep you up to date. And second they hire somebody, we'll let you know. Yeah. Eric, got anything to add before we jet on out of here?
Yeah.
All right. Gotta love it. So that's it for us. See you guys next week. Thanks for joining us here on the Phillyverse and Notoriety Sports Network. So for the Football Smack Talk show, I am Ryan.
I'm Eric. Happy football, everybody. Only 237 days to go.
That's it. Gotta love it. We're under 240.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Have a good night.
All right.